see that this piece has become. Hold on just a second. I'm recording it and then I'm turning off my speakers and microphone. Okay.
All right, so let's clarify recording versus not. Because I know that we've talked about whether or not we record all of our sessions. Everybody good? Everybody cool?
Is that all right for everybody? I just
Thumbs up.
assumed that the mentorship one
Yeah,
should be.
that's good. As long as
recorded.
everybody is clear. So it'll pop up when you come in the room. It's going to tell you specifically. So I think that absolves us of any concern. So
Yep, we've got a few people in the chat giving thumbs up, so
Perfect.
they're not on camera to give their visual consent.
Bill now has the chat next to me, so now I can look in two places.
Wonderful.
So tell me what's in the chat for now, Jennifer.
Nothing yet, just, I mean, people joining and asking what the topic is. So if you are just joining, the bad thing is when you join, you don't see the earlier chat messages. So if you are just joining, the topic of the day is mentor, mentee. We're defining terms, we're seeing how we can support, and just chatting all around that particular topic. So nothing in the chat yet.
Okay, excellent. Well, I am throwing Vicky under the proverbial bus because I'm really enjoying the conversation. Tell me about a mentor, if you've ever had one. What was that relationship like for you?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I feel like, well, recently, I feel like my mentors have been people that have worked within my company, and maybe a manager, maybe somebody indirectly that I work with. And I think it's for this indirect mentorships, I think it's just somebody that you naturally have like a gravitational pull to. Sometimes you can't put your finger on it. But what I look for, or what I've looked for in other mentors that I've had in the past is, what is the type of initiative and what is the pride that they seek in what they do and the work that they put out. And I want to emulate that, right? Because I know that I can identify with driving and making sure that I'm doing the right things, right? And then I'm pushing forward. And so finding somebody who can be a potential mentor that gives you that inspiration and that drive, almost like, like a coach sometimes, right? I mean, I know sometimes I just hate push-ups in general, but if I have a personal trainer that's out there and telling me like, drop down and give me 10, and I'm going to watch and make sure that you've got the right positioning, for those push-ups, then I'm going to do it. Because now I'm being held accountable.
So you just hit the nail on the head. We're mentorship and so mentors and mentees both. One of the pieces I think that drives those relationships is accountability.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons we asked the women that were asking for mentors to tell us what their expectations were. I have to be held accountable. I am the first person to bail on something. I do. My day gets busy, and if I'm not being held accountable by my mentees, I'm the first person to skip that meeting. So I use this mentorship program to actually pivot myself into a new mentor relationship where I need a mentor. My mentor was a man named Tracy Hutchison, and he passed away a few years ago, and I was struggling to fill that void.
That's hard.
Tracy was instrumental to the growth in my career that brought me to where I am today. And you develop a very
It's a personal connection.
a super strong bond with the person that you mentor or mentee. Alexis Spiegel is here this week. She and I worked on a mentee-mentor relationship through COVID. And when she won the Spotlight Award last night, one of the things that she said to me later was, I'm really excited that,
That's so cool.
that our mentorship relationship had some of that added to it. So
Oh, that's neat.
there's so many things that come from being a mentor. I think that as a mentor, I get more out of that than I get out of being a mentee sometimes. Joy, what
Let's
did you
talk
talk
about, well, I'm curious about expectations. So, because you recently, if I remember correctly, were paired with somebody from 2Seats.
Yes.
Did you do that? Okay.
Yes. And we had our first meeting last Friday.
All right. So
Yeah.
how did you
Yeah.
talk through the expectations? Like, how did that feel for you?
I think it was good. It was more of like an exploratory type of call, just to
Okay.
kind of understand, first of all, what is your background? What's my background? And then trying to find those points that I can hone in on to say, oh, okay, I can identify with that. I can help you with that, right? But trying to understand, what was your path getting to where you are today? And where do you want to go? And then finding those mutual points of connection to be able to drive that plan, create a plan.
Yeah.
So we're not there yet, but we're starting out. I mean, it's, the frequency we're meeting is like bi-weekly, and, there's deliverables and stuff like that that I've got to get over to her. But I mean, like, it was a great first start, and she's just really excited to be part of it. I am too, as a mentor. This is my first time officially mentoring. And I think we all kind of, in some capacity, maybe mentor others, sure, unintentionally, right? But then
Yeah.
you get people that say, "Oh, well, thank you so much for your mentorship." Like, oh, well,
Did I
you're
do?
welcome. I don't know what I did, but I'm glad that I provided some kind of inspiration to help.
Yes.
Well, we're
Have
thinking,
you,
oh, we
did you
got.
have, you have a mentor too, or mentee too,
I
right?
have a mentee. We
Yes.
have not met yet because I've been on the road for a month, but we've got time scheduled to meet late next week. So we will get that going when I am back in seat. And I'm really excited about the fact that I have found someone that really appeals to what I want to talk about. Because like I said, I can't teach someone how to be a cybersecurity expert, but I can absolutely teach someone how to pivot their career to the next trajectory. So that's a piece I'm really looking forward to.
I think for myself, understanding how my needs have changed over time, because one mentor that I had worked with for a while was very specific for helping me grow my MSP, helping me understand my financial sheets and my EBITDA, and how do I get my company in a position to be more profitable, more flexible, and all this stuff. And then after I sold my MSP, the work that I really wanted to dig into was emotional intelligence and going out there in the bigger world, much bigger world, and navigating huge organizations, right?
Yeah.
And because it's a different level of conversation, all these different layers of management that I hadn't been, I had been swimming in my own sea for 21 years.
Yes.
And so for me, it was a very different need that came into play. And I realized that for me to be successful, I had to learn to speak a different language. And so I worked with somebody different for that. And then I've always had somebody that I've worked with for my career progression as far as my credentials and what's the next best thing that I should be looking at. Sometimes that's one consistent person. Sometimes it's the CEO of the company I'm working for right now. If I have these three things that I'm all excited about, which one do you feel is going to be the best return on investment for the business? Because you're paying for it.
Right.
Right. I got to pass the test, but you're paying for it. And so hearing his rationale for why he chose the one he chose was really interesting and helped to guide me, even better in my career path in the organization. So yeah, needs definitely change, and being open to having more than one person guiding is really good and healthy, I think.
Yeah, I think we need mentors in many areas of our lives. We need them in business, especially because often women don't find their voice as early in their career as they should.
Yeah.
But what about mentors outside of business? Who has a show of chat hands in who's got a personal mentor that helps them with personal growth? That isn't a paid for therapist, because we should all have those. And if you don't have one of those, we should talk about that. But
I love that.
outside of that, I have a personal mentor who works with me on understanding. You said emotional intelligence. I struggle with that. It is not my go-to. I have to work really
Oh,
hard.
me too.
It's
Inside
I
voice.
find that so surprising though for you too. Yeah.
oh no.
Absolutely.
No, there's the inside voice and then there's the outside voice.
Sometimes my inside voice goes outside and bad things happen. But no,
You mean the whole, oops, did I say that out loud? I meant to just keep it in my head. Yes.
Can anyone else relate to that?
So while we're waiting for people to chime in on that particular topic, Tina is asking, and this was just from a minute or two ago, she had filled out a form or the survey to try to get matched. So how do we make sure she gets matched, or what's the status? I haven't been involved in that process.
I'll take that up before the end of the day, Tina. I've got some working time at the airport. Let me take a peek. And we'll make that before the end of the day.
Super.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
got
And it's Tina with Blue Net, just in case there's more than one Tina.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
to say too, like, I love that this is a forum that you have helped to create, because I know for me, I work at ConnectWise. I've worked at ConnectWise for 8.5 years. We've got 3,500 colleagues now, our employees all over the world. And it's very easy to kind of get stuck in that mindset of working within an organization and not, venturing outside to find other connections and other leaders that you can connect with that can help you to grow. mutually grow, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I feel like this is a great conduit, and being at Comptia Communities and Councils Forum, also a great opportunity. If you're not a member of Comptia yet, definitely take a look, because this is kind of how I've seen you both here, at previous events, but yeah, I mean, just make sure that you're pushing yourself outside of your company, to, find
And
other ways.
I'm gonna kind of build on that because last night we had a conversation, you and I. And when you started this conversation today about sponsors in your organization,
yeah.
what about sponsors outside of your organization in the different industry groups?
Yes.
Right, that are going to keep an eye out for you. And
Yes.
I think that that's a huge part of it. I think that everyone, and I know that you especially, and I know, oh, what's her name with Cisco? Michelle.
Yeah,
Rivers
Michelle
Brigade.
Anderson.
She's famous for she's almost like a industry conference, professional.
I call her
right?
the conference Instagram influencer, although she doesn't use Instagram for it.
Right.
We talk all the time about
Right.
her ability to amplify the voices
Yeah.
Yes.
of women at events is extraordinarily second to none.
And
She
she's in a
has,
ton of associations, and
Yeah.
I think that exposure, if you get a champion or a sponsor or a mentor, whatever you want to call it, whatever that dynamic is, in various industry associations, that's going to just catapult you for the recognition and having people thinking, because I would think of you for many roles outside of ConnectWise. Not that you're, not that's what, just to be clear, that was not what the conversation was about.
Come to the job.
Not that Joy's recruiting people. This is not a recruiting conversation.
No.
interestingly, along the lines of using a space like this, I had no less than 3 sit-down conversations where people asked for time with me yesterday while I was here. And the question was, I'm trying to decide,
Mhm.
for lack of a better phrase, what to do when I grow up. What am I gonna do next?
Mhm.
What do I want to go to?
Mhm.
And most of those conversations surrounded not who do you know and who can you leverage for me? The conversations were, what do you think I'm good at?
Yeah, that's a really good,
That is a good point.
interesting and important conversation to have.
Yes.
What do you see my value
Good for them
as?
for asking.
Yeah.
I was,
That's brave
Put
and
on the
that's
spot.
wonderful.
yeah. So that was
And that's why I love this from a women's group, because I'm going to gender stereotype, but there's a reason for it. Like if you have not read the book, I just blanked on the name. I'll think of it when I stop trying to think of it. But how men probably never ask that question. What do you think I'm good at? Because they genuinely think they're good at everything. They will take positions where they only meet 65% of the criteria, where we women often want to meet 95% of the criteria before we even put our resume in.
Yeah.
So the confidence code, the confidence gap, something like that. It's a phenomenal book, especially if you're a woman who's like, does every other woman struggle with self-confidence, or does every other woman struggle with imposter syndrome and that type of thing? It really explains the gender gap with some of these things that are inborn. And so I don't think I love that she was willing to ask that question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference when you open up. Because I would have said, you know what, I actually don't have any roles open in my org with what they do today currently. So instead of thinking that way, I was able to think about, what do I know is open and what do we have open that might fit what they're good at, not what they are doing today, because we focus often on what are you doing today, and maybe you're doing that today because you didn't present yourself well enough the last interview to get the thing you really wanted.
Right.
So I'm excited about the idea
So
that
I'm curious, what kind of feedback did you give? And we're anonymizing this.
Yes,
we are
but,
anonymizing this. If
did
you're
you
listening,
draw on personality strengths or who they know and where they've worked or certifications? How did that come out?
so for me, in each of the sessions that I had yesterday, it surrounded more, what do I see visibly of them in the industry? Because a lot of them travel.
Perception is reality.
Perception is reality. What do I find you doing repeatedly? When I think about people's genius zones, which is what I call it, the things that you love and you're really good at.
Yeah.
When I think about genius zones, I think, what are you repeatedly drawn back to? So the feedback that I had was, well, one individual, you are a connector. That's what you're good at. You're good at bringing the right people into the room, and it marries well to the thing that I'm good at.
Yeah.
So we talked through the idea of taking a relationship-driven industry and connecting people. So that's a community plan.
Yeah.
Right?
is.
That's someone that needs to be forward-facing and out in front of people on a regular basis, maybe in a different way than they are today,
Mhm.
because they don't see that in themselves. Well, I don't do that. So I was able to pull examples together. I've been on the road for a month. And I was able to take some examples and say, well, this is the thing I watched you do 3 weeks ago. And I don't think that she had any idea that she'd done it.
Oh, wow.
She just was
I love
fascinated.
that kind of
Right.
feedback.
When you love
yeah.
something, you don't do it on purpose. You do it because you do it.
Right.
So, yeah.
And it
And
shows.
then you sometimes, you diminish the value of it because it comes so easily to you. Well, I just introduced 2 people. They should know each other. No big deal. Everybody does that. And it's like, no, everybody doesn't do that. And so it is easy to overlook our zones of genius because they come easily to us. So I love having that outside perspective, someone who can say, no, this is not normal. This is unusual, and you're really good at it. And I don't think we often can identify those in ourselves.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think as, leaders, women leaders in the channel too, I love that you said that and you identified that and you called it out, right? I think that we could advocate for each other a lot more by being more vocal about things that we see, unique qualities that we see in other women in the channel. Because again, you mentioned she didn't understand it herself, right? Until somebody else told her. So,
I think a good opportunity to change a little bit of perspective is right staring me in the face right now. When you see another woman at an industry event, as women, we do this.
Mhm.
Hi. What are you?
we're moving furniture
Yeah,
behind.
we're changing this, we're changing up the space. When you see another woman in the industry, it is very, very common for us to say, hey, I really like those boots. What a great top.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're nice. To be clear, I did not say it specifically.
I
Because
love where you're going with this.
what we do is we, as women, comment on physical appearance all the time.
Yeah,
And I don't know why we do it, we do. But
Right.
if a man comes up and talks about our physical appearance, it can be awkward. So
Yes.
as women, when we think about how do we elevate other women, yeah, those boots are awesome. But what can I tell you as a compliment that talks about your strengths in business production?
Right.
What is it about you that I find? So I'm trying to be very cognizant as I travel over the next couple of months to say, I really like that thing you said in the meeting today.
yeah,
It reminded me of this, so that we start to focus less and less on, hey, you look great today,
yeah.
because that is confidence boosting.
So you're saying having an intentionality, like that type of mindset. brings to that
100%.
Conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, I actually have started to naturally do that for other females that I know are doing something like hands-on cyber. I call them
Yeah.
out, and like yesterday, Maria Scarmardo, do you guys know who she
don't.
is?
No.
Oh, she's she's a little firecracker, and she's all about GRC. And yesterday I had my first opportunity to be in a meeting with her where we rolled up our sleeves.
Hey,
We're
Hannah, are you going to
talking
the airport?
through-
Come over, say hello. Keep going.
Yeah.
you're live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking.
But what I did this morning is I sat her down and I told her the things that I really liked about how she navigated that conversation. And that the GRC expertise that I see in her now is a completely different level. And it's exactly what you're saying. It's so important to have that conversation. It's not about the clothing, the looks, anything else like
Yes,
that. It's like,
yes.
this is where I see you excelling in our playing field.
Yep.
And I want to see more of it.
Mhm.
She was really all lit up from it.
Pulling Hannah into the conversation, we were just talking about how as women, one of the things that we tend to do when we're all out together is say, hey, you look great today. I love those shoes. Did you get your hair cut? Instead of saying, hey, you did this thing that I saw in business that was really cool. So
Yeah.
just changing that conversation amongst the women themselves.
Yeah, that's a great
Don't
point.
get me wrong. I love it when someone tells me I'm pretty.
Yeah.
Right, love it. I'm all in. Everybody tell me I'm
Don't
pretty.
worry.
Tell me I'm pretty.
You know what I-
That's right.
Yeah.
We perpetuate some of that.
Yeah,
And then it just becomes a thing that we focus on as women, and what we
Yeah.
should be focusing on is how do we lift each other career wise?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because that will allow you then to say to me, well, what do you think I'm good at? So we were having a conversation about, those were questions I got asked.
Yeah,
It wasn't you know, what jobs are open in the world? What do you think I'm good at? I'm
Mhm.
looking to do something new.
Yeah, that and also I feel like as women, we do a lot of negative self-talk.
Yes.
And then we feed off of each other. We're like, oh, I don't look good in this color. And they're like, oh, I don't look good in this color. And then we go on and on and on. It's like, let's just cut all that out.
Yeah.
We're all beautiful.
Right,
And it's short.
Like somebody else notices that you don't look good in that color.
Yeah.
Because we've seen men don't sit
Yeah.
around and
Yeah.
say, hey, does red look okay on me? Because I'm going to a conference.
Yeah.
That's,
I was gonna say too, one of the things I've made a conscious effort on recently with LinkedIn is really the women that I'm connected to in the channel. And not even in the channel, but other professional women that I'm friends with or have met through, you know, my walks of life. Is making sure that I'm celebrating them when there's an award or something, right?
Yeah.
Just making sure that you're making an intentional comment or providing feedback, right? And celebrating that win. I think that definitely, I feel good when people do that for me. So,
Yeah.
you know,
100%.
Yeah.
how are we doing in chat, Jennifer? I see a couple of things that I can't read because I'm old.
So
Um,
Tina was just piggybacking. She said, how about, I love that dress and your energy and your attitude. So I think that's
Thank you, I'll
fantastic.
take that.
And you look good in red, you know.
We're gonna have to go to my network because I forgot the jacket that goes with this dress. And I bring this dress because it is day to night. And without the jacket, it is not day. And I had to present in the emerging tech session this morning. And so I went out to my network this morning and said,
Oh, that's
who
funny.
has a blazer? Because I can't present in this.
Oh, that's
And
so
somebody
funny.
came through. Caitlin Job,
There you go.
Caitlin has left without it. This blazer is mine now, Caitlin. It's never being returned.
So it's so interesting because at the last event I went to, I got there and I think I had to present, and my hairspray, it wasn't a pump hairspray, it was a whatever, I can't think what it is, but all the compressed air had gone on the airplane. So literally you pushed it and nothing. And the sundries shop was open, but only for cash. Well, like I don't have cash. And I mean, I looked like I'd been traveling all day, you know, very flat hair. And I mean, I can put on makeup, but if the hair is flat, like I just wasn't confident. Yes, I should feel beautiful no matter what, but I didn't feel beautiful. I didn't feel confident. So I'm like, I need hairspray. Like I need hairspray. And there's no time to get to a Walmart. And so I pinged a couple friends that I knew were there. Guess what most women have? Like hairspray. One of them gave me like a little travel hairspray. Here you go. I don't need it back. Just take it. I'm like, oh, what a lifesaver. So having that network is super important. So your blazer, my hairspray, life is good.
Scrolling back in the chat a little bit, somebody's asked, and I can't tell who, someone said, does anyone have a sponsor? That concept is new to me.
That was me.
That was you, okay, all right.
I've never heard of that before. Maybe it's just because I worked at smaller companies, but that is a newer concept to me.
So sponsorship understanding for me came from my last mentor that I was saying had passed away, Carrie. Tracy Hutch used to build sponsor maps. So when Tracy was looking for a new position, or anyone in Tracy's org was looking for a new position, he would send them out to build a sponsors map. And he would say, go map the organization, figure out who you know,
Interesting.
figure out what pathways might get you somewhere, and start building yourself a map of people you need to connect with over the next 6-8 weeks as we go through the process, so that they will talk about you. So that sponsor talks about you when you're not in the room.
Nice.
And if you can build a web of those,
Yeah,
right? You don't have a single sponsor. I do it a lot because I work with entry-level individual contributors. And one of my claims to fame and Huntress is that I've promoted 13 people in 2 years. And I've done that
That's awesome.
because I have built spiderweb sponsorships. I spend half of my day talking to people at the org that I mean, I don't know what the engineers do. I don't understand that at all, but I do understand that if I make good relationships with the engineers, you have the ability to move someone. So I'm in the
Yeah.
middle of, I think, what's going to be our first move from SDR to software engineering.
So
Okay, can everybody do me a favor and look at, okay, so Tracy, you talk, say something.
Hello, my name is
Okay,
Tracy.
now everybody look at the camera without it and like try not to blink. I've been trying to do like a print screen so I could do like the Comptia edition. I either catch Tracy doing this or Jennifer with her eyes closed. So everybody ready in 3, 2, 1, smile.
Are we still smiling?
Got you.
I don't like, I hope I had to blink. I'm sorry. I hope you got me.
No, I just got this. I did the, we use like some sort of, we use green shot for screen caps and it works really well.
I love it. You're like, I don't know. I keep catching Jennifer with her eyes closed. That's all I do all day is sleep.
Sponsorship comments you're making, it not only does it help to create a potential new career path for somebody that you're mentoring, but I also feel like selfishly for the company and for your team, you're making those connections and then
Yeah.
understanding how all those departments work and how you can tie into those departments
Yep.
more
Well,
effectively.
and the long-term thing is that you're retaining employees, which
Yes.
is
And
better for the
retention,
health of the
yeah.
company.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
do
much
that
happier
all,
employees.
all the time at Great America. It's all about how can we keep that individual, even if it doesn't mean in your division or department, but how can you move them to a spot that is going to be home forever? And we're all about that. If you can keep them in the company, that's the number one goal. It doesn't matter where it's at.
And I think a step further, if you can't keep them in the company, so Carrie, you and I were we struggled with this in our own banner sales post for so long where we didn't have enough upward spots for people because we were a small business and understanding. So when I finish interview rounds, anyone that I think is going to make it to the final cut, I say to them, here's the deal. We're a big company now. We have 300 people. Odds are we'll find you a seat. But if we can't find you a seat at Huntress, if I cannot figure that pathway out with you and there is nothing available when you are ready and you have done the work, I will pivot you outside our organization. I will use the connections we have in the network. I will help you find the right sponsors, mentors outside of us. Because what I really want is for you to find your home. And if I can't give you that,
Right.
I want them to understand that we're not going to limit them
Mhm.
and that I'm willing to take them onto my team and have their managers and myself grow them to a point where they will go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because I think otherwise we run the risk of not bringing the right people in because they feel like they only have one path.
Right.
And if you teach people that I am willing to mentor you, work with you and let you go somewhere else, all of a sudden,
Well, in my world, that is strategic partnering. Like, I would love to have if somebody's going to be leaving our organization anyways, have them go to an organization that you're already doing business with, where they're going to be a champion for your team, right? They're gonna want to keep your team involved because that's their buddies, that's their, where they grew up.
Yeah. And that you
Yeah.
trust, like
Yeah.
somebody that they're gonna take good care of the individual that you're sending there. And you
Yeah.
have a good relationship with them so that they're sending off, but that their career is gonna continue to grow.
Right.
Yeah.
We need to maintain a great industry and a great channel and grow. And so retention within the industry is great.
Yeah.
and I think
Culture fit is so hard to match though, right? Like when we closed, like when we sold the US call center, we hand placed everybody that worked for us that wanted to go somewhere else. So instead of binding people into non-compete, some people went with Tracy over to Huntress, but we set up interviews for any vendor that had ever partnered with us that wanted to hire somebody directly. And then we let the agents interview with anybody that they wanted to. And then we let the vendors that we partnered with choose what agent, if any, they wanted to hire. And remember, a bunch of them went to a vendor and that vendor was unable to support them. Like they just didn't have they weren't able, like we weren't a very corporate group, right? Like we hired out of workforce readiness programming. So the people that worked for us had never worked in an office environment. They'd never worked in death by meetings environments, right? They worked for us and we were like, yeah, whatever. Make your calls, hit your numbers, don't bug me, right? So going from that to like, now we have to have 8 meetings this week about this, that, and the other thing. And everybody that went to that vendor left. And they provided 100% healthcare coverage. Like, can you imagine 100% for them and their families?
Wow.
Wow.
They paid double what we had paid them and they still couldn't hold on to them because the culture fit was so significantly different. So you almost have to prepare the company that, like, could we have prepared him better for that transition? I don't know.
Maybe, but what a wonderful thing for you to attempt to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that
It was
really
key
speaks
for us.
volumes. Yeah.
that was kind of the
Wonderful.
piece, Carrie, that you and I said had to happen in order for us to divest the.
Yeah, I was willing to run that business until I didn't have another dollar in the bank, but I wasn't willing to go into debt to save it. So fortunately, we got out before that, before I had to make that Sophie's choice. And I think everyone did all right, right? Like nobody was unemployed and it was a terrible time to be unemployed. I didn't want to put people out on the streets who didn't really, can you imagine like half of those people interviewing
Oh.
Tracy? It would have been a shit show.
I
Like we
think-
had to prep them, we had to work with them, we had to like, okay, everybody wear something nice.
Well, sometimes we had to make sure they had something nice.
Oh, that was true.
Yeah.
We found out that people were homeless working for us. It was a huge.
They were borrowing blazers, that's right, same concept. Caitlin's never.
Oh,
gave
is that Caitlin's blazer?
She left without it, so it's mine now.
You guys, I got a job.
Okay, see you later.
Everybody's wrapping
Thanks
up,
for,
but yes.
Let's see it. I want to see this blazer. Is it long?
Send anybody in the, send anybody in the lobby this way. to,
Okay, I
see
will.
them.
Is it a long blazer or is it a hip length blazer?
Yeah, it's like it's a long blazer.
It is. It looks
It's,
nice.
I had to present on emerging technology today. And
What?
nothing about emerging technology. We were presenting on the process. It was a process presentation, so it was really good. But at the end, someone said, you don't know anything about emerging tech, and I'm like, nope,
No, not a thing.
no process.
If you asked me how an NDR and like any of that worked, I'd be like, I don't know, just buy it.
Well, it's funny. So Joy and I were just in a cybersecurity community meeting, and it was like a working meeting where there's all these like aspects of, I mean, you could do a much better job of explaining this than I could. Joy.
Basically,
But-
families of security control.
Yes, families of security controls. And so I was watching to see what all of these, what all these topics were going to be. And I naturally felt more comfortable going to Wayne Selk's table because he had like a topic that I felt like I could contribute to. And poor Joy didn't have many people at her table. And she said, hey, we need some more people over here. And I was like, Joy, I don't know anything about this. And she said, it's okay. Just come over here and we'll figure it out.
What were you presenting on, Joy?
Well, the topic that we grabbed off the wall was backup and data.
Mhm.
And it's a simple conversation. The exercise was, what is the MSP responsibility and what is the customer responsibility?
Yes.
Because we're building out a shared responsibility matrix at Comptia, because that's what we do.
Yep.
For all the different areas of IT service delivery. And you did great on it, because it really is just the thought of if you're an organization and you're hiring an MSP, what would you want to know about the data backup? Or what should you know that you're afraid to ask or you don't know to ask? So it was a really good exercise. And that's, I think that it really represents how much women can collaborate and participate in IT and cyber, even if they don't have that as their background.
Yes.
A lot of this is common sense, and we scare ourselves into saying we're not technical enough.
Right.
I still do that, right? I still do that. So. Yeah.
I
it
just
was
read a very boring paper on the CMMC levels of certification and how
Uh-huh.
they compare to other certifications. And I can't imagine having a job where I have to read that every day.
That's my world.
That sounds very.
But all I know is CMM3 covers most of it and CMM5 covers all of it.
That's an old paper because there's no
Damn it.
longer a levels. I hate to tell you.
I hope you got a good night's sleep after reading that, because it's invalid.
Well, I thought it was interesting because there's so many different, like as a business owner who's non-technical, who did have a managed IT service provider for most of the duration of my business when we were large enough to require one. Them explaining that to me would have been like,
What?
okay, not like I mean, we don't have any CMMC requirements. We're a call center and we're a line of, like, all of our line of business applications are in the cloud. Right. So when we figured out it was cheaper to have 10 extra computers than a managed IT contract, we pivoted to that. Right?
Yeah.
Like all we needed was 10 extra boxes. Who cares if the $600 Dell Optiplex is down? Throw it in the garbage and go move to that computer and we'll buy another one and we'll set it up.
You erase the data. Yes.
Yeah.
There is no data though. Like what kind of data would we have had sitting around on one of the boxes?
Well, even, I mean, it depends on the configuration, but they even could have got your passwords, your usernames and passwords.
We definitely buried those in the desert. We didn't just throw them away.
So, oh,
Buried them in
with
the
the
desert,
bodies?
with the bodies.
Yes. Okay.
Alan Jostin disposed of those for us. So
Yes, Alan Joseph did dispose of those for us, and I suspect he did all of those things.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll ask
Excellent.
him next week.
Love that.
So polling the audience themselves, we spent the majority of the first half talking mentorship, which was the goal of today. Want to make sure that we're not missing out on something somebody came to listen and learn about today.
I will wait. Nobody is chiming in yet in the last 2 seconds, but I'll see if anybody pops in.
And I'm going to take a real quick sneak over to the lobby while we're getting towards that and see who's milling about, because it is now normal lunchtime. I'm going to go find some victims. I'll be back.
Didn't misspeak with that. She's
Yeah.
really means a victim.
I love it.
Volun victims. Well, it's nice to see everybody. I have to check out of my hotel now, so I will see you guys next Wednesday. Thank you for everyone who took the time out of a busy event to participate.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's very nice to see everyone.
Yes, thank you
um,
for hosting.
Oh, sure. Jennifer, you figured out how to log in as the host, I saw. Okay, good.
Yes, but I'm gonna have to bounce in 3 minutes. So is your laptop, you are now the host, so that's good.
No worries.
Awesome. Couple people saying, glad to be a fly on the wall, just here to listen. So awesome. Couple people bouncing out. I think a lot of people are gonna have to bounce early or slightly early. I'm gonna have to bounce.
Jen, will somebody send me a link to the recording? And it looks like there's a transcript as well that comes with it.
I didn't know that I turned on the transcript. Oh, I did.
No,
So-
which I love, because otherwise I would have had to run it through Descript. I normally take them, run them through Descript, write a little blog post about it, and then I'll put it underneath the video so people can watch the video or read about what we talked about, but they don't have to read it word for word and don't have to get all the ums and the ahs about. So
Sounds good.
appreciate you all. And Joy, if you want to get the stuff to me, I'll edit out the chit chat at the end and the chit chat at the beginning and kind of keep the conversation part that I think I missed most of. So I apologize, but
So supposedly you can take the transcript and load it into the new version of GPT-4 and ask for a 3-sentence synopsis of the entire meeting, and it will give it to you. I haven't tested it yet.
Comfortable, I know, but see, I'm not comfortable really with our information being uploaded into a public
I get that.
line. I think it's one thing. If
all I do
someone-
with Chat GPT is ask it to suggest movies. Like to write them. I was like, because after I heard that there was a movie called Cocaine Bear, I was like, hey, pretend that you are a movie producer and you have to create 20 movie ideas about wild animals and illegal drug use.
Oh, that's really
Please
fun.
share with me the names of the movies and a quick synopsis of each one. And then it's like gives me 20 movies. One was Ganja Gorilla, which I actually would have gone to. Then I asked them to write me for each of the movies above, please write me the summary of 3 acts for the movie. So then it like starts breaking down the movie into act 1, act 2, act 3, and what happens in them. I'm like, okay, so for act 1, write me 10 integral parts of act 1 that would set us up for act 2. And then it'll give you ideas. So
Yeah.
right now I'm just creating movies about animals and illegal drugs.
I like
Oh,
it.
no.
I have less to do than most of you guys, I think.
Yeah, we have people
Go ahead
coming.
and grab a seat.
Miss people.
I don't know what's going on.
We have someone who doesn't understand what 2Seats is doing, so that's exciting. I'm gonna
Yes.
slide in, slide over. Yeah, let's
Are
see.
you just grabbing people out of the hallway?
I am.
Well,
we
they
go.
have to be woman people, so.
They have to be women people. I mean, they're people.
Yeah.
I do have to duck into the thing in a minute. but-
100%. We just wanted to be clear that we're running, so the Women in Technology 2Seats program is designed to elevate the voices of women in technology. There are some of us who are very, very loud, and there are some of us who are not quite as loud. Right. None of them are here, but we're all loud. We wanted to spend some time just being clear that CCF is a place where we have the ability to bring women together that wouldn't necessarily be together in different conference areas, and just say like, this is a space where women should be banding together. And we were talking about mentees and mentors today.
Oh, great.
And it
yeah.
kind of fit the theme of some of the things we were talking about at CCF this week. So we wanted to make sure that somebody from Comptia just
Can I tell you something? So our social media manager, for ConnectWise lives in Chicago.
Okay.
But I mean, she's like the only one I think that lives in Chicago, but I said, hey, you should come to Comptia, you should come to the event. So she came for the opening night and she told me, because she's been to a couple other industry events, and she said, I really was surprised by the amount of diversity, like in the audience.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is so cool. You know, she's like, there were so many women there. I was
Yeah.
like, I know.
Yeah.
It's so great.
I've been on the road, this is my 4th week, and the amount of female attendees at CCF outnumbers all of those other 3 weeks, I think.
It's really
combined.
great.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so.
I have a picture of us at, I want to say it's a Datto event or an Enable event in 2017, where we're at a table of women and we're the only women at the event. There was like 8 of us.
Turn the lights. Yes. It's come in, MJ, it's fine.
I still have that picture because you remember that weird jacket with the circles, that rip cuff jacket? That's the only way that I know that that's where we were. MJ,
Hi,
nice to see you.
I feel like a woman in tech. This is
Well,
awesome.
so I really wanted you to come over to talk about the fact that it isn't just women in the women in tech scenario.
No.
We talk about allyship all the time. We talk about mentors, mentees. I'll be honest with you, I've only ever had mentor relationships with men. I find that I learn lots because, and when I started my career, there were more men than women by far. But one of the things that you've done over the course of your time with Comptia is really be an active voice for women in a lot of different ways through ISAP.
Yeah, and I mean, that really, thank you.
You're welcome.
But to be fair, it predates me. We've always had a strong culture in the community of men supporting women and wanting to see women excel and do more in the career. I mean, I'm a girl dad. I have 2 daughters and a son, but the 2 daughters were first. So, and it's awesome, you know, I've seen them succeed in their career, and they haven't had necessarily that same mentorship. At least not that I see in this community, and certainly not the amount of men who are more than willing to be strong advocates for women.
Mhm.
And you know, my own personal feeling is it's kind of, this may sound backwards, but it's almost a shame that we have to have something called advancing women in tech, right? Right? Because what is it? I mean, have we not learned anything? It's 2023. I mean, it's silly, but it's, you know, it's real. So, okay, we should just stand up and acknowledge that. But I think that's something that we should think about acknowledging more of. Like,
I agree.
isn't it kind of a shame that we have to focus on that? You know, we don't have advancing men in IT,
Right.
but we have advancing, and you know what? It's the same with DEI and D, right? Why do we have to focus on that?
I know.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Why?
right.
Yeah.
Why? But the fact of the matter is,
Because of the lack of it.
right,
Yeah,
exactly. It's interesting. I heard a podcast interview recently. I was skiing with my son and he listens to his podcast, and it's some guy from MIT. But he was interviewing Ginny Rometty, the former CEO of IBM.
Mhm.
And she was saying some really interesting things because they were obviously asking her, you know, what was her experience and blah, blah, blah. And she was just always a self-driven person and found herself in a very successful position. But interestingly, she and her husband, she didn't say why, but they had decided not to have children of their own. So she calls herself I forget, like a crazy aunt or something like that. But what was interesting is what she said about all the other women that she's worked with in her career who have families, and how much respect she had for the challenges that they had to overcome if they chose to have a family and a career. And she really tried to institute a lot of change in certainly one of the most historically stuffed shirt men, you know, remember the old
Yeah.
blue suit, white shirt IBM image, how she tried to make change in that. So it's just fascinating to listen to.
So you can't see the group expanding because some of them are off camera, but we are developing a little following here. Brianna lives here now. Sorry, you don't get to register people for ChannelCon. And do not count this against Brianna.
I didn't say anything.
Just saying, hi,
Hi.
come on in.
Are you
Oh,
home?
he's not doing
Bye, Mom. Thank you. Thank you.
You got the best seat in the house, MJ.
Kind to.
What's that?
You got the best seat in the house.
Apparently.
So, you know, my people, so that
Stick
we
the
have.
bald guy in the middle.
We are running up to 10 minutes above the hour. So those of you that I co-opted to come, if you have somewhere else to be, do not feel the need to stay. I will release you to industry. Oh, you don't gotta go home, but you can't stay here. MJ.
All right, fair enough.
I was gonna see-
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Maria.
You're gonna
Like
try to
join
this,
us, like
just
it or
like-
not. Okay, I'll get you.
trying to see what we can do for this.
Yeah, because Brianna's very involved with the TIG and.
Okay, well, let's find some time together. Yes, absolutely. I'll email you.
Tracy, bully all the women there into completing their speaker bios so we can get them up on the site.
So
Exactly.
let's
Wow.
So far, only Jen and I have finished ours, and Jen already had hers done.
Jen, I think, has just finished mine. I co-opted Jen into writing mine.
Oh,
because
well done. I should have done that.
Honestly.
So we should, so when you talk, we should talk about how we can best support you with this.
Yes,
Would
absolutely.
love to, because it's not just, yeah. It's not just what we're doing, what we're doing, we want to also support what's being done everywhere else too.
Yeah.
You know, it's a whole collaboration. I will say it's not 100%, but I'll say it's better than 99%. We're probably going to reinvigorate the AWIC community
Yes, maybe
within
rename it.
Comptia. Yeah, name it something that where it's like, we're gonna, I can tell you for a fact, we're gonna move away from ATTD. It's a mouthful and it's confusing. We're gonna break out into workforce, women, diversity. We'll just go with DEIB and be, we're gonna go, we don't need to make up new terms, right?
Yeah.
There's good terminology.
No more acronyms.
Is
Right.
it DEID
terminology
now?
So advancing diversity.
Oh, no, it's advancing tech talent and diversity.
Tech talent and
It
diversity.
was a come together of somewhat workforce, but not quite workforce, advancing women and diversity. And it just wound up with an unfortunate acronym. It was nobody's fault. It was trying to catch everything. And I remember being on stage the first time saying it. I'm like, yeah, that one, ATTD. Okay. But we're just gonna, we don't need to make things up, and in so doing, we can provide support wherever it's
I'd love to
appropriate.
get
So
leverage it.
that's awesome. That's
Yes.
awesome. You can, you run with that.
Oh, I'm sorry I couldn't be there in Chicago with you guys this week.
Now you're leaving, there is something going on with your energy here, MJ.
Right? I don't know how I did that, but I turned the lights off
We have
and
10
apparently I turned them on. It's good to see you
Nice to
again.
see everybody. I have to check out, so
All right.
I'm off to El Paso.
I like you on this couch now.
I love it.
And Joy, thank you so much for setting up the Zoom instance and getting this all organized. I really appreciate your help. It's been kind of a chaotic month. Hi.
So come and say hello. We're almost done. We're gonna shut it down in 4 minutes.
Come on over.
There, all right.
There.
So what we spent our day talking about most of the day was mentee-mentor relationships.
Okay.
Vicky and I actually ran into each other in an elevator talking about it earlier in the week, and I thought, how much fun would it be to host it live? And have as many women as we can pop in and out over the course of the hour. So I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Yes.
Over the course of your career, tell me about the best mentor relationship you've ever had, whether
Ooh,
you're mentee or mentor,
Yeah.
and what did you get out of it?
well, I had someone mentor me and I didn't realize I was being mentored. And I was
The
called tough
Miyagi of
love.
mentors.
I saw it as like tough love. I was like, because I knew that this person was coming from a place of wanting to push me out of my comfort zone. And it was very uncomfortable, but I knew that the intention was good and that's what made me want to do it, because if it was somebody, I think it's all about the intention. If someone has really good intention and you have a really great relationship with that person, you'll be encouraged to get out of your comfort zone and do those things. So, but at that time, I didn't really actually label it as being mentored. I just was like, oh my goodness.
That person's involved. Yeah, you know what? That's good. So I was mentored. I've had two really great mentors. They actually work together. One's a venture capitalist that taught me everything that I knew about business and what really helped me launch owning my own business. And to your point, and sometimes the challenge, I would get very nervous when we would have our meetings sometimes, and I just knew I was going to be so challenged every time. And even when I would sit there and put out all my thoughts, or let's say it was when I was creating my org charts and things like that, and then poke a million holes into it, and I just would be like, oh, shit. And I only cracked like once. I think I had like one tear come down, and I got an email later. It's like, this is all just to push you,
Yes.
to do
Yeah.
better. And then, and really when I launched, I kept getting up to the edge and just not pushing it, and they would put some pressure on me, in ways that, a good mentor, you don't even realize how that pressure comes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just know that I just know I jumped off the edge and everything, with no safety net or anything, but I had so much from that mentorship relationship that, that's how I was able to succeed.
That's awesome.
Ashley, you're off camera in the corner, but I'm gonna throw you under the, under the bus of mentorship. Perfect. Excellent. I like you a lot.
It's, the biggest impact that my mentors have had on me would be similar, Estelle, with what you said, this providing opportunities and kind of recognizing what I had in my, what my potential is, maybe even before I recognized it myself.
Yes.
Right, and providing these stretch and growth opportunities for me to get out there. And sometimes, I wouldn't be aware that that's happening, but I think it's access to opportunities, but on my part, I had to be willing to say, yes, I'm gonna try this, and I'm gonna be brave enough to give it my best, right? And let it be a little scary, and then, now a new opportunity becomes a habit,
Yes.
Good, awesome. And welcome to the very last couple of minutes. Anne's been to the 2Seats program a number of times. Today, we were focusing on mentor and mentee relationships. I'm going to throw you under the proverbial spotlight bus and just ask you to share, as we are heading out of the session, about a small mentor-mentee moment that meant something to you over the course of your career.
Trying to think of a specific, I guess one thing I would say as a mentor, I'd say to folks, just take advantage of every opportunity that you can get. And I just caught the tail end of what you were saying, but get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And
That's the theme.
I've spoken to very, very well-known people who will say privately how nervous they are in situations, and that everybody seems one way on the outside, it might not be the same way they are on the inside. And I think that's something that's really important to remember.
Inside, outside.
Yes.
pieces. Did we ever talk about
Yes.
this?
Yeah.
You can be as loud and gregarious as you are, but maybe that's not who you are. Maybe that's the front that you're putting on. Right. Sadly, I am just loud and gregarious. I think for a lot of time, we're compensating in all kinds of ways as women. We're either compensating to make ourselves smaller. We're compensating to make ourselves larger. We have all kinds of isms.
Yeah.
And this space, this 2Seats space, we want to really use it to amplify voices in ways that are creative and new. So I hope you continue to join us. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead
Live
and turn
from
this
CCF,
off. Let's
we
stay
are
for a
out.
minute just so that we can tell you guys on